And welcome back to Visited by Voices Live on a Friday the 17th. How's everyone doing out there? A few of you already out there in the chat. I say hello, scream it back at me. Joined as always by my co-host Sam.
You know, Friday the 17th just doesn't have the same oomph to it. Also, it's not Fajita Friday in my household, and it's like...
What?
I know! I did it like the last 2 weeks, and I think... And this is, this is just, we still had leftovers. Because I made slow cooker meatballs that turned into meat sauce, so it's like, I gotta use that.
What is next? Is Taco Tuesdays gonna be gone next?
We had a Taco Tuesday this week. It was delicious.
Wonderful. We're also joined today by a very special guest, Amy Grech. How are you, Amy?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Lauren?
I'm all right, I guess. I'm getting used to finding soft drinks in the mail. Tonight I'll be drinking Diet Moxie from our good friend Orc. I think everyone out there knows Orc. He's the free-formed insanity that floats between the channels. He sent me a case of Moxie through the mail, which, if not illegal, is at least inconvenient. So thank you so much, Orc. I really do appreciate that, sir. Amy, you have published over 100 short stories in magazines and anthologies. You've also written novels like Rage and Redemption and Alphabet City. How long have you been at it?
I've been writing and publishing for over 25 years.
You got me beat. Not by a lot, but you got me beat.
Mm-hmm.
So how did it all begin? How did you get bitten by the horror bug to begin with?
It started very young. At the tender age of 12, my family took a trip to visit an aunt in Kingston, New York, and she handed me two of Stephen King's novels, Cujo and Pet Sematary. Now, remember, I'm 12, and my aunt says, "Oh, honey, I think you'll like this author. He writes scary stories." And, Cujo, for a kid that young, I was just like, oh, yeah, let me, I was like, yeah, let me have it. And I've been hooked on Stephen King, reading his work ever since. And then in high school, I noticed there were not a lot of female authors in the horror genre. So I started writing my own stories longhand. And then I got a typewriter, which I used up until I went off to college. And then in college, those little iMacs no, they weren't iMacs, the Macintoshes that were the box.
Oh my God.
Ones,
awesome.
Right? Yeah, the cubes. I forget what they were called specifically, but
iMacs. Yeah, with all the different colors. I always wanted one of those teal ones. Those were the best.
Oh, I predate those. This was like the early 90s. The box, the beige.
Yeah.
Beige. Lauren, I don't know if you remember those. But.
Listen, I couldn't afford all the fancy Apple products. I just had my Panasonic word processor that I purchased myself from my part-time job washing school buses. So.
Oh, wow. Good for you.
Washing them? Washing, not watching. I'm sorry.
If they would have paid me for watching school buses, I would have never left that job.
Yeah, that would have been.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, you could write.
Problem now.
Like you could write while you're just like chilling in a bus.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Amy. Please.
Continue. Oh no worries.
I have no attention span today.
Oh yeah, no, it's Friday, right? So it's like, oh, look at that.
It's like senioritis at the end of the week.
It is. It is fajita-less Friday.
Oh no.
It's still Friday. It's fine.
It's the thought that counts. But yeah, just in college, I attended Ithaca College, and I majored in English, minored in creative writing, And one of the elective courses was the literature of horror. So I was introduced to Shirley Jackson's The Lottery, Franz Kafka, H.P. Lovecraft, Cthulhu Mythos, Poe, which I had read in high school, but like a deeper dive. So that was fun. And one of the electives for creative writing was the science fiction course. Actually, that semester, I don't know what I was thinking. I had a science fiction writing course and a children's literature writing course.
You ever get them crisscross sometimes?
I think I might have once, and then the children's lit professor was like, "Is this for me?"
It's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers with kids.
Yeah, Village of the Damned.
Yeah, oh God. Like, I've seen Children of the Damned with Kirstie Alley. I can't watch that movie because of the vivisection scene. Squicks me right
I
out.
haven't seen that one. Maybe I'll seek it out now. I'm intrigued.
Are you a fan of the original two films?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Village of the Damned and Children of the Damned? Because if you are, it's like the Carpenter film is a well-intentioned like disaster compared to the original two.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So just go in with your eyes open.
Okay, good to know.
But it does have a pre-paraplegic Christopher Reeves running around, literally. So.
Oh wow, wild.
Yeah. So I think we all have that inciting incident, whereas we realize it sounds like it was a Stephen King novel, which is a common one for you.
Yes.
But what was the other writers that you gravitated towards? Was there, as such a proponent of short stories that you've become, I mean, that's the bulk of your career. Were there specific short story writers that you found yourself gravitating towards?
Well, I mentioned Kafka, Poe. I'm trying to think more contemporary authors. Well, also growing up, Bible stories set me on the dark path. My parents forced my brother and I to go to Catholic school. Oh, sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll skip over that. But yeah. Okay. So that was, another mitigating factor. And then as I started out in the horror genre and I started going to conventions, like seeing Brian Keene read live. I know he writes mainly novels, but, like Linda Addison is more of a poet, but she's also written some short stories. And I met her in the early 90s at a convention called Icon on Long Island. It's now defunct. But I've known Linda for over 20 years. She's amazing.
Absolutely. So a part of the modern writing culture does revolve around conventions, but I think a lot of the viewers of the show may have the wrong impression because there's two very distinct versions of what we call horror conventions. One of which is when you stand in line to pay too much money to a guy who's no longer making movies to like sign an 8x10.
Like ChillerCon in New Jersey, right?
Right, and then there's kind of the professional creatives type of conventions. In this area where we both are, because you're in New York, New Jersey. There's things like Nikon that happen. And I
went to Nikon once back in like 2009. It was fun, but it was, I don't know, maybe a little too intimate. I'm used to like a larger convention, I guess. I had fun, but it was just very different. Have either of you ever gone to Nikon?
I haven't.
I've not. I'm actually very weird about conventions, period. Like, if I'm going to go to a convention as just a fan, that's one thing. But the kind of networking that usually happens at conventions, I'm not actually the biggest fan of.
Oh, okay.
But that's a personal thing. That's not.
Sure.
Yeah, I would never say anyone else should do anything like I do it because, God, look at what I've done. Ugh.
Oh, no.
Is this where we talk about the pirate cosplay?
No, we do not talk. We've told this pirate cosplay story way too much.
I don't remember it. I'm just asking.
That never happened. No.
It didn't happen the way you're thinking it happened.
Okay. I'm intrigued, but
there is no pirate cosplay.
Right.
Not
got me.
Well, not on me anyway.
Not on Jedi mind trick. There is no pirate cosplay.
Yeah, that's how it's going to be. But I've always found that every kind of event, whether it's a convention or it's an event at a bookstore, I mean, if we're being honest, and this show's all about being honest, it's hard to get people to come up to those tables and even talk to you about the work. It's tough. It's a very tough gig. And I'm wondering.
Along those lines, sorry to interrupt, but remember, was it like 2009 that you, me, and a couple other authors went Barnes and Noble? Was it like Pennsylvania or somewhere?
Wilkes-Barre, yeah.
Yeah. I took a road trip, and that was fun. But as I'm thinking back, and this was eons ago, but you're right. It's you have to reel in the customer, and you have to like maybe do small talk, and then they're going to say, "Oh, I love Stephen King," and then you say, "Well, my book is similar," or something, right? So we've been there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just very tough, and I think that, unfortunately, for a lot of horror writers in particular, I don't know if it's true of other genres quite as much. We feel a need to get out there and mix up with the audience, but it's a small audience, and
yeah.
It's tough. It's very tough to get them engaged. So let's go back a step, and before we get to all this, and what was your first anthology sale? And what did the rejections before that feel like? Because we all had them.
Sure. Actually, my first anthology sale was way back in 1997. It was my first pro sale to Shade Root, Funeral Party 2. Jack Ketchum had a story in there. I forget the whole TOC, but that was really exhilarating because I had not yet met Jack Ketchum, but then a few years later I met Jack Ketchum at ChillerCon, and then I would run into him at several other conventions, World Horror Con, StokerCon, and it was exhilarating, but the rejections leading up to it, when I first started out, I would get the form rejections. This was back when you had to still mail your manuscript. Remember those days? And
with those self-addressed stamped envelopes.
Yes, exactly. And then I started getting more personalized rejections from some editors. Not all the time, but, that was very encouraging. And, even myself being in my early 20s, it stood out to me that editors are busy people, and for some editor to take time to jot down even one or two sentences of feedback is, really kept me going, and I'm glad I stuck with it.
Absolutely. A lot of people do get dissuaded in those early days, though, because it can get very disconcerting very quickly. Of course. Yeah. In the early days, none of us are the best judges of our work, I guess.
True.
So, did you save all those early rejection letters?
I did, but then I moved a couple of times. Some of them were so old they disintegrated, and then I just, lost them in a move. So I don't think I have any of the old school rejections, or even like my first official acceptance. What about you? Did you save yours?
I saved them in a binder for about, 5 years. And then after I started actually selling stories and seeing and realizing all the stupid mistakes I'd made to not even get considered in the earliest days, right?
Right.
I decided it would be therapeutic to burn that file. And so I did so.
Oh, wow. That's very cathartic, yeah.
It was just closing a chapter, right? Because for me, and I suspect it's the same story for everyone. I don't think I'm very original. It wasn't until you got serious and decided, well, I'm going to write every day. I'm going to really be hard on myself. I'm not going to be proud of myself just because I created something. I'm going to make sure this is actually worth something. Mm-hmm. When you really get down and you study the craft rather than just think you're a creative because you came up with a story. Exactly. It's all those things. Once you embrace all those things and it happens, and there's that moment where you're like, oh my God, I just sold a story because I did it right. You're not the same writer as you were when you got all those rejection letters. You're just not.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And holding on to it's like holding on to someone else's mail. It might not technically be a federal crime, but it probably should be.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's like a stranger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the stupidest thing that no one talks about is the rule is with your cover letters, with your actual manuscripts. First rule: just don't fuck it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And people do.
Yeah.
People go out of their way to screw things up as fast as they can, because it's very easy for an editor to say no. It's very hard to say yes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you give them any stupid reason to say no, they will.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, like one time, I'm not proud of it, but I did a copy and paste from a previous submission, and I had the wrong editor's name. I was like, "Oh shit! Bye bye."
Well, at least you put the editor's name down there. I mean, I have some friends who are first readers for periodicals, and they all say, like, anytime you get the Dear Sir's letter, it's like Dear Sir's means it goes on the pile, which goes to no one.
Right.
If it says we'll get back to you in 6 to 8 weeks, it means you're getting yours back in 12.
Yep.
Because you didn't address it to anyone, so it wasn't addressed to anyone.
That's true.
Not willing to do the basic research about who's reading this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a cardinal sin.
Yeah. The ever-present Mr. Daniel Shine has a question for you. Amy, can you tell us about your story in the Hell's Kitties anthology?
Yes, I can. It was a fun one to write. It was inspired by Edgar Allan Poe, actually, and it's entitled The Raven's Revenge. That's an anthology edited by April Gray. She has a whole Hell series, and I have stories and a couple of others. But to answer the question, my story takes place in Brooklyn. My first apartment was in a very rundown building. And I was convinced it was haunted, and so I came up with this storyline with an ancient superintendent, and one of the tenants wants to hold the seance, and she knows the super dabbled in the black arts, and so she and her boyfriend go to the super, who I named Syman, S-Y-M-A-N, and then, it's like, I like to play with names. And it has a whole bunch of twists in it. I don't want to ruin it in case the person who asked the question wants to seek it out. But there's a great payoff at the end, for sure.
I have a question about this anthology in general, because it's like, I saw Dan's question, I'm like, Hell's Kitties.
Mm-hmm.
I know
there's a whole series.
It's all, like, different, like, is it all cats, or are there other...
Oh, no, all animals, yeah. Oh. Any animal, because I did a raven. There were other stories with dogs and.
Okay, I was wondering, because I was Raven, is that the name of the cat? Because like we were close to adopting a cat named Raven, so I was like, what?
Oh no, it's the actual raven in my story. Sorry, that wasn't clear. You're right.
I was just curious because it's like, I think we've all had experiences with hellcats.
Yes, for sure. And a little side note, the editor, April Gray, actually chose that theme that year because she and her husband live in an apartment building. They have a garden where it's called the Oasis Community Garden, and we've done readings before COVID there every summer. But she adopted a black cat who was a stray, and she took it to the vet, and he wasn't microchipped. And unfortunately, he died shortly thereafter. I forget which ailment he had, but so she dedicated that anthology to the cat.
Oh, that's really cute. Did April also do Hell's Mall?
She does all of them. Yes, I have a poem in Hell's Mall.
Yeah, I read that. I read the Orange Julius one, and I actually was, it made me realize it's like I've worked in a mall and I've worked retail, mostly customer service, and I'm like, yeah, that's a job that can drive somebody to committing a horrible act.
Yeah, right. And I grew up in the 80s, so I had to go with Orange Julius, and then like everyone's eyes light up who grew up in the 80s when I do a reading, which has been like virtual because of the pandemic, but up until now. But, and a funny last note about Hell's Kitties, we did a book signing in a cat cafe in Manhattan.
Those are awesome. I love cat cafes.
Yeah, they're so mellow and so chill.
Yeah, we're not lucky enough to have like, at least not that I know of, because I'm in Texas, so we didn't have one down here. We had a bookstore called 9 Lives for a while, where we had cats there.
Oh wow, that's so awesome! Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I just love I love random shops having like a designated pet. It's like, oh, you have a cat? Oh yes, I'll spend an hour in here, and half of it will be petting the cat. I will look at things, and I will probably spend money.
Right?
I'm gonna be petting that cat.
Oh yeah, in the city we have bodegas, and there are bodega cats. It's actually an account on Twitter called bodega cats, and it's just the cats posing amongst like beer or stretched out on the floor of the bodega. It's so cute.
Yeah, they have. I mean, I only encountered one in. I don't remember if we were in Santa Fe or Albuquerque when I was really young, but we went on a family vacation, looking at antiques because that's what my grandparents loved to do, and we were in like a carriage, and it was super hot, and there was this cat in the back of the carriage that was all curled up next to like a wrapped bottle of ice to keep it cool.
Oh wow!
Oh, so pretty. Yeah, I wish that was more common. It's so nice. Do you have any? Okay, this is gonna sound weird. Do you have any favorite bodega cats?
I do, but because of the pandemic, I don't go to bodegas as often as I used to. But when I lived in Park Slope, just for about 15 years in Brooklyn, there was a calico cat, and her name was Spot. I guess the owner wasn't that creative. But when I would go and like pick up like a nice coffee or something, the cat would like get to know me and like would be like, "Hey, how?" Like the cat would just be like chilling and wanted to be petted, and it was really, really awesome.
That is cute.
Yes.
How I think I've had an orange Julius like maybe once in my life, and maybe I wasn't old enough to appreciate it, but it was just kind of, it was whelming. It wasn't, I was really expecting more, and I don't know why I had such high hopes for a drink at a mall when I was like 7.
So Sam, you probably had orange Julius after they got bought by Dairy Queen, not before.
Yeah, you didn't have the original.
That's a whole different animal.
It was at an orange Julius. It wasn't at a Dairy Queen, so I don't know when this was. I don't know, when did they acquire orange Julius?
I want to say late 90s, maybe.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Maybe it was. I think it was before that. Anyway, I mean, it doesn't matter.
But there's also an orange Julius in Texas. So.
What?
No. Zing.
It's like, wait, what? Like, I actually tried finding an orange Julius because, I mean, Dairy Queens are all over the place. I can't find one that's within 25 miles of me, and I'm just kind of bummed.
Oh, yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, and, they're also hiding their orange Julius behind all of their other smoothies.
You have to know to ask for it.
Yeah, I just have to search through their website. It's crazy. I know, that doesn't... I get stuck on food very easily.
Oh, it's okay. I just had dinner.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say I just had dinner, so yeah, it's all good.
Ooh.
So, lots of Jack Ketchum conversation in the chat tonight. You mentioned Dallas and See What Happens. It's like it's a lot better than saying Candyman 5 times if this year's any good.
Dallas was amazing. Yeah.
He was an amazing person. It felt like anytime I ever ran into him, it was outside whatever venue we were at because he was smoking.
Right, yes.
But he was an incredibly giving person who would always have a conversation with you and always cared.
He gave me a lot of pointers on a similar note about reading techniques. Reading out loud, like speaking from your diaphragm, enunciating. So,
but Dan is actually pointing out that in his later years, he wrote some good books with Lucky McGee, such as I'm Not Sam.
That's correct. You are not.
I haven't read that one yet, but it did get rave reviews, and from the writers I know who did get a chance to read it. Yeah.
So, I mean, from back in the day, okay, it's going to show up. Yeah, there we go. There we go.
I have he signed off season for me. Yes.
So I mean, it's funny because, as is being pointed out in the chat, outside the horror community, if Jack is known at all, it's really just for off season and the offspring, and maybe Girl Next Door is for infamy purpose. But he was a huge transitional figure during all those years of the King rise. He was everywhere for many years, and he pushed the direction in a more the genre in a more graphic direction before people like Skip and Spectre did. Mm-hmm. So I think sometimes I just think that it's great that we love him. Mm-hmm. I wish a lot more people were aware in the mainstream of the hard work he did.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But he was definitely loved in the community. So.
Oh yeah.
And he knew that. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. In fact, I went to several Stoker cons, and the one in Rhode Island, they had a tribute to him. And the whole room was packed, and everyone was singing in his honor, and it was very touching.
Yeah. So, your writing leads you obviously into the convention world and into mixing it up with other writers. Mm-hmm. Is there anyone out there that you would consider both a friend and a mentor?
Linda Addison, I already mentioned. James Chambers. I've known Jim for over 20 years. He's always very helpful. I've asked him a couple of writing-related questions over the years. And, he's grown as a writer as well. I knew him when he was, he has a few years on me, but when he was, newer in the genre. And he's got a new collection of stories coming out from Raw Dog Screaming Press, I think in October. So, and I loved his previous collection, On the Night Border. I don't know if you read it.
I did not.
Oh, Raw Dog did that one as well. It's really great stuff.
Well, we've had Raw Dog authors on the show, so maybe we'll have to help them push that out the door. The new one. So, as you get out there and you're mixing it up with the writing community, I'm sure you hear all the horror stories, all the war stories, all the infamous, conspiracies and just people who end up on the outs of the community. Mm-hmm. Do you think that it has gotten harder because we're so interconnected in the online world than it used to be? Because I go back to the Shocklines days with Schwartz and everyone else.
I remember Shocklines, yeah.
Yeah, and it seemed like there was always some conflict going on, but it was never like it is now, where people are like run out of town.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Twitter can be toxic. I actually am very active on Twitter, but there are times when I just want to step away if if something really, really uncomfortable is going on. I won't name names, but another female author, actually a lot of female authors, myself included, were being harassed by a certain individual. I'm going to take the high road, and I won't say who. But I'll say his initials. His first name initials N, and his last name initials P. I don't know if you know who I mean.
I know. I completely know who you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So,
is he still around? Because I haven't really heard his name spoken out loud in many years now.
I think he resurfaced recently in the last year or two. I don't know if it was right before COVID or after.
So, listen. You took the high road. I won't. Listen, Mr. Passion. Nice. I only had one experience ever with him.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
But it's far from the worst experience that you'll hear about. But far. But he had. There was a online electronic magazine called House of Pain. Had nothing to do with the band. And they. I mean, back in those days, we were all dumb enough to submit to places that wouldn't pay you, because we believed there was some kind of exposure out there. Mm-hmm. There's no exposure. Get paid. Mm-hmm. But the editor who was running it actually gave it to Nicholas Passion.
Oh.
Just gave it to him.
Here you go.
And that happened during the process of my submission being out there. And apparently, Nicholas just anything in the pile, he just said yes to.
Oh no!
But he's kind of infamous for his level of his work ethic and how well he can do things like spell. Use full sentences, not dribble on himself, all those things. So he managed to put a copyright notice under my story and misspell my name.
Oh God!
Which basically copyrighted my story to someone who doesn't exist.
Right.
Legally.
You're right. Yes.
And he managed to cut off the last paragraph so the story doesn't actually end.
Oh God!
So I wrote a email to him saying, "Hey, dude, this is what happened here." And and I put it out there. I don't play games. It's just, hey, this is what's going on. Okay.
And you wanted it fixed, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean,
you're right. Yeah.
Oh my God, the hostility I got back.
Oh no!
But you see, I thrive on that. Like, that's hilarious to me. Like this guy thinks whatever. I mean,
you threw gasoline on a fire, pretty much.
Oh yeah, but I loved it. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
So
worth it.
So I emailed him back and told him, "Can you remove the story?" And he's like, "No, I accepted it. I can keep it up. It's my legal right."
He's a cuckoo for sure. I don't know his diagnosis, but
oh man, it's awesome. Awesome. You see, the thing is, I wouldn't ever want to be in his crosshairs with the bad behavior that he's done to other people. But like on my level, I eat up when people are just idiots. I love that. Absolutely.
He's very needy because like I blocked him on Twitter or I forget which platform, LiveJournal back in the day, LiveJournal. But yeah, and then he kept mentioning my handle on social, but everyone luckily was pretty much ignoring him. Is
this guy still working?
I don't know if I think probably lived in his mother's basement or something.
That was always what everyone said. It was, I think the grandmother's basement was the whole deal.
Creepy.
No, I mean, back in the show, I don't want to make the show about Nicholas fucking Passion, but back in the day,
come on, let it rip.
Well, I don't. Again, I think it's all kind of hilarious because I have a very dark sense of humor. So, but again, I wasn't like, listen, it's not funny to people like Mary San Giovanni. Okay.
Yeah, she was another of his victims.
Oh, she was one of the big victims of his harassment. And Mary's a friend. So, I mean, I would never say it's funny that it is funny. I just am dark enough to find idiots like him funny.
This fucking guy. I hate him already.
Well, the problem was like there was people who did parody songs about him. I mean, they baited him.
Oh wow. Okay.
Like Brian Keane loves to tear him a new asshole, or did back in the day. I mean,
but by the way, he deserved it.
He did.
This was not in any way bullying.
He was asking for it. He was like, come on.
But to answer your question, Sam, he was always a self-publisher, basically. So everything was his own thing. And I'm not horrifically against self-publishing. I don't think, for myself, I don't like new work to be self-published. Now, and Amy, you could probably, because I know you've recently had a title go out of print, or maybe not.
Yeah, actually, Rage and Redemption went out of print.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the problem is another small press publisher is not likely to pick it up because reprints are harder to sell than originals because they assume that the sales that it's going to do are already mostly done. And they can always try with something fresh. So that's where self-publishing really does step in and make good sense. Mm-hmm. That's how I feel about it. But I think, Passion used to just, if something came out of his Word document directly into the published world without ever being revised or even edited, he probably didn't even read it back to himself. And you could tell. Yeah. I mean, it was nightmarish. And a lot of this stuff I think is still on Amazon. It was last time I saw it.
Oh no! When I want to laugh, I'll check. Yeah.
Just go look at. Don't buy it. Just do the side feature.
Like read a sample and laugh at it.
Yeah. Or no, I won't even log into my Amazon account. I'll just go to.
Oh yeah, you don't want those in your suggestions. You'll get that Amazon email and go, because you looked at Nicholas Passion.
Or I'll log into
here's doggy shit bags.
My mother's account, I manage her account for her, and she doesn't have an email, so it will go nowhere. Anyway.
Wow. I didn't really think this episode was going here.
I know, it's always fun, isn't it?
You never know, right? It can be fun.
That's why they're conversations.
Absolutely.
Oh man.
Oh, I have a question about one of your short stories from.
Uh-huh.
I think it was one of the recent ones in. I'm sorry, I'm blanking. I was reading it yesterday, and it's like.
Oh, that's okay. I've had a good year during the pandemic for writing, so I don't know. We picked 5. I've had 5 published this year.
That's good.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
This was 38 special. I think it was in Gorefest.
Yes, it just came out in August. And you had a question about it? Sure.
Yeah. So because basically I read 38 special and Orange Julius, and I had they're just like, well, I'll pick a couple and check them out. And I had no idea what any of the anthologies were about. Just going by the summaries. But these 2 pieces both have a 38 Smith & Wesson revolver in them. So
they do.
Is that something special for you? Does that feature in other pieces?
It does, actually. I have a crime novella that is being looked at by a publisher, so I can't name names as far as the publisher. But when I was learning about guns, I made a mistake in an earlier story with a gun, and I forget which gun, but I said it had a safety and it didn't, and a reader caught it. But I met them at a convention, so they told me face to face, and then I think I fixed it in the story where it was published. I said to the publisher, can I, submit the correction? And he was like, yeah, sure, luckily. So the 38 Special is a gun that I learned a lot about. So that's why it's a repeat offender, if you will.
Well, it's a nice looking one because I was like, ooh, steel blue. I just looked at Blue Smith & Wesson 38 revolver. It's like, ooh, that's pretty sweet looking.
Yes.
So I was very curious because it seemed like, is that a coincidence?
No, it was planned.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't want to be called out again, by a police officer who reads the story or something. Get arrested. No, I'm kidding. But, be embarrassed. So, yeah.
No, I get that. Like, I'm not knowledgeable about guns, even though I live in Texas. So but yeah, no, I know plenty of people that are always willing to educate anybody because, we're very particular. So as far as 38 Special goes, I couldn't help, I was reading the back and forth between the 2. Well, I would think they're the 2 main characters, Brad and Charlie.
Yes, they are. Because the wife is dead.
Yeah, and I just kept thinking this is like the way that you wrote the gun imagery, and it's just like these 2 guys. It's like a lot of prick waving, like metaphoric.
Yes.
As a metaphor, obviously, but it's just was that intentional, or because it's definitely like it seemed like an influence.
The story just played out that way, so I'm glad that resonated. And of course, because Russian roulette figures in that story, that can just be a cliche. You can only do so much with that. So that's why I had the guy, Brad, be allergic to the cat who comes into the garage, and then the gun misfires.
I know, yeah, that's the thing, because it's like you've got all this prick waving going on, and he's still taken down by a pussy.
Exactly. Irony.
Very poetic.
Yes, very ironic too.
Yes.
Indeed. Yeah, that was a fun one to write.
Yeah, it was. I also didn't expect. I didn't expect the beginning with Heather. Heather seems kind of like, man, she sucks, but whatever. And also, I'm like, I never understood the gun fetish.
It's just a thing that's out there. I don't personally have a gun fetish, but I don't know if I've come across people in real life who have, or I might have read another author where that was a subplot.
Yeah. It just seems like that's one of those weird kinks. It's like you shouldn't talk about that. You should just keep it on the down low, not kink.
Yeah,
but just
I agree.
I will solidly say though that all writers who ever want to put a gun in a book owe it to themselves to go to a gun range once, at least once. if not regularly, because it's a lot of fun. But there's so many times when I'm reading and I get to a point where someone fires a gun and the description is so like fantasy, it's not funny.
Oh, no, I did write my homework for the crime novella that has not yet been published because, but I didn't go to a gun range because there are horror stories. One woman was holding the gun the wrong way. She wasn't doing this. Mm-hmm. So when it kicked or somehow her thumb got shot off. I
mean,
that would happen to me. That would be my luck. Uh-huh.
You can get cut pretty badly when the actual mechanism comes back because it fires back fast.
Right. Yeah.
On a lot of guns, anyway, not all of them. Uh-huh. But I do recommend it. Go with a friend who knows what they're doing, and you'll be fine. But it does change the way you'll write about the experience. I don't think we have to always write only what we know, but there are certain experiences that you can easily, facilitate. And I definitely think it's worth it.
Okay.
Shannon has a question. Amy, do you feel that the publishing community has gotten better for women in the last few years?
Definitely. Really, a little quick Cliff Notes history. When I started in the going to conventions in the mid-90s, it was funny because all the male authors thought I was either there with my husband, who was one of the male authors, or my boyfriend, who was one of the male authors. And then I would say, oh, no, I'm doing a reading at like 3 o'clock and come check it out. And some of them did, and they were surprised that I managed to scare the pants off them, to be a little corny. But not literally, but you know what I mean. Now to fast forward, there are a lot of publishers actually. I'm probably saying the name wrong. Kandasha Press. I have a story in there, The One That Got Away anthology. It's an all-female run press, and all the contributors are either female or identify as female. So there are many more opportunities for women as far as publishers not, I don't want to say discriminating, but in the 90s, they were maybe some of them were more hesitant to publish myself and other female authors. But now that's turned around, and it's not as challenging to be a female author. I know some female authors still, though, will put either a pseudonym or they'll use their initials. They won't use their full name. Like one author I know, Nancy Lambert, she submits as N.R. Lambert. So it depends on the individual's comfort level.
This has been discussed on the show before, but I read a lot of female horror writers, and I have all my life. Awesome. I'm a big Liz Massey fan. I'm a big Melanie Tem fan. Mm-hmm. I mean, and those were formative writers from my youth. So, and I am unfortunately not young anymore. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I think unfortunately, it becomes a battle cry, and it blinds people to the actual true history. And I worry when we say that, oh, it's gotten so much better, we're ignoring some of the trendsetters that actually were out there paving the way. And I think we need to keep respect for those writers, especially in the horror genre. The horror genre has a rich history of female writers, much richer than most other genres. And I always want that respected before we get on our sessions about what we need to still correct. Mm-hmm. Now, personally, also, I am deeply opposed to the idea of any one group only publications ever.
Oh, okay.
I do not think it fixes a historical wrong. I think it runs the risk of tokenizing it, which is, I think, a much more dangerous path. Again, as a person who will say Danielle Trusani's The Ancestor was by far my favorite novel of last year, followed by Mexican Gothic, another female author. So, I mean, furthest thing in the world of me trying to talk down female writers. I think that female writers are well capable of competing with anyone on the market. I don't think anyone writes with their genitals, so it shouldn't really matter.
I agree.
Try that sometime.
didn't ever want that said on the air.
Oh.
I don't know. I used to get invited to female anthologies because of my name being unusual enough and confused enough, and it really left kind of bad taste in my mouth, because it was like I had to extract myself from that situation, and then it became almost like well, I didn't send that letter, you did.
Oh, right. I hear you. Yeah.
So I think the better role here is that we need to get to the point whereas we have to understand you can't force readership. We just have to be great, and we have to support each other when we recognize greatness. Mm-hmm. I think that's a better path forward than if you want to do like, I'm going to use a ridiculous social group because that's easier to make for the discussion, right? So you don't want to say, okay, we're only going to publish Estonian American authors in this anthology, because I got news for you. The normie who might read one horror novel every 5 years is not going to look at that book and go, Estonian horror writers, that's the book I'm going to read. But if they look at the cover, there's a great cover, and they read the book description on the back, it sounds great, and they open it up and they read a paragraph and it just rocks, they're going to buy it no matter who the author is. I really believe that. Mm-hmm. I think we just got to be careful not to view everything in our lives through certain lenses, because it blinds us again to the past and the trend and those important groundbreakers of the past. Mm-hmm. I don't want to ever minimalize them. Shirley Jackson came up both in this conversation with you, and Jake actually just mentioned her in the chat as, I have a feeling that Shirley Jackson will never be forgotten. Well, damn right, sir.
Mm-hmm. We have the Shirley Jackson Awards,
Clearly. And I think that we just want to be very careful. We want to make sure that we're not saying, oh, she was a great early female horror writer. No, she was just a great horror writer, period, that could stand up to anyone.
Right.
Period.
Understood. Point taken, definitely.
Sorry, I'll get off the soapbox.
It's okay. It's okay. It's a valid point. That's just one publisher that I mentioned. It's not like it's getting extreme, in my opinion. Where anyway, let's move on. Sorry.
No, I kind of knew that was going to come up tonight, but that's okay.
No, it's okay. It's cool. It's all good.
Again, what I think is most important is when you find someone who's a great artist that use work you really love, go out of your way as a reader to spread the word about that person, no matter what their background is, what their skin color is, what their gender, what they identify as. Just promote greatness, because then the genre gets bigger and more robust, and there's more opportunities for all of us anyway.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, we need this. We need the Stephen Graham Joneses of the world, right? Mm-hmm. So that not because of his background, but because he's an awesome fucking writer.
Oh, he is. I have not read Night of the Mannequins yet, but I've heard it's amazing.
It is. Only Good Indians is my favorite of his work. The Only Good Indians unreal.
It, but I haven't gotten to it yet. I do want to read it.
Do it. Definitely. It's amazing. Last year was a really great year for mainstream horror fiction, right? And by that I mean not small press,
right.
Which is not usually the case. Usually the great stuff is all in the small press for me, but last year was an exception. Like, I could walk into a Barnes and Noble and actually pick up books and come out saying, wow, these are some of the best of the year.
That's true.
That's a good year.
Speaking of unusual books, Ellen Datlow had recommended this book to me. It's a few years old. I believe it's from 2017, Tenders the Flesh.
Oh, I think I've heard of that. I have not read it. I'm behind on everything.
It's a meaty, heartbreaking story. It's set in the near future, and all the animals are diseased. So humans are eating humans, and they refer to it as special meat. I don't want to give away any of the twists, but I recommend it highly.
Yeah, that does ring a bell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think I had it on my Amazon list for some reason. I don't remember when I put it on there, but it made my Amazon to read list.
Yeah, it's dystopian. It's dark. It hits all the feels. It did for me anyway when I read it. And I think it would make a great film or a series on Netflix or something. I'm surprised it hasn't been picked up, or maybe it has, and because of the pandemic, it might be delayed. Hard to keep track.
That's true.
Danny's calling out Ania Alborn as doing some fantastic work as well. Absolutely, I'm a huge fan. I'm currently reading Within These Walls, which is one that I missed somehow, but now own one of those ex-library copies that I fetish. So, just again, has nothing to do with her being a female. She's just an amazing writer.
Mm-hmm.
There was another question. I just missed it.
Uh-oh.
That's okay. Well, speaking of film.
Now. Sorry, person in the chat.
Yes. No, just repeat. If you ask the question, repeat it because I'll get back to you.
All right.
Speaking of film, we're kind of that generation of writers that came up kind of embracing horror film as well as horror fiction. Before, as it seemed like you weren't supposed to really like horror films, you were supposed to be just kind of, oh no, that's the bad side of the genre. But we were the generation that grew up kind of with them.
Oh yeah.
And embracing them. So do you have favorites?
Oh yeah, definitely The Exorcist, Jaws, The Shining, Red Room. I was in the 8th grade when The Shining came out, so I was like, whoa, there's a lot going on here.
So I'm gonna ask the same question that anybody is gonna ask you when you say The Shining. Movie, miniseries, favorite? I know, Lauren's like, I'm leaving. No.
Oh no, I'm talking about the original from the back in the day. The original.
Oh yeah. Do you have a favorite version of it? Because I think the book is probably my favorite.
No, wait, sorry, I missed the first part of your question. Say it again.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, do you have a favorite version of The Shining, like the book, the movie by Kubrick, or the miniseries with Steven Weber?
Oh, I don't think I saw the miniseries. I liked Kubrick's film. I think Stephen King said that was his least favorite adaptation, if I recall.
Which is insane, but yes.
Yeah, because of that maze in the snow, and those snowdrifts, right? And the scene with the bartender and the whole thing for me. But yeah.
I mean, the work has been recontextualized for film and to a specific artist's taste.
Yeah.
And it was only on the surface level King's novel anymore. Mm-hmm. All the subtext had changed. I get why he has a problem with it, but you know what? He's blind to what makes it a great, great film.
I agree.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I don't give enough credit to Kubrick's use of liminal space in that movie, because liminal space on its own is really disturbing, and unless you pay attention to it, you don't feel suitably creeped out. So I may have to reevaluate, because I just prefer the book to the movie, although it's sort of, comparing Jokers. Like, well, here's your Jack Nicholson Joker, and here's your Heath Ledger Joker. And I'm like, well, I like different things about both of them.
I hear you. Yep.
The book works as a book will work, but as you saw from the miniseries, you can't directly adapt it and have it work.
The miniseries is the Jared Leto Joker, let's be honest.
Yeah. And it's not its fault. It's that.
When did the miniseries come out? Sorry to interrupt.
2000.
2000? Oh, all right.
I want to think about that. It's a long time ago now.
Yeah, I guess I just missed that one.
It's okay. You can miss it.
Okay.
You solidly can miss it.
I hear you.
97.
I was close.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. But it's one of those things that by being slavishly a slavish adaptation of the novel, it missed out on the fact that it's a visual storytelling. Has to take precedent in film, and there's things that just don't translate unless you really do recontextualize them, and it's a pretty painful watch, I think. I mean, I know there's people who do love it, and
okay,
that's true of everything, I guess. But yeah, to me, the Kubrick film every day, and I think actually the Kubrick film may be a better film than the novel is book. I do like the novel quite a lot. I do. I think it's a slam dunk of a film. So,
yeah, I agree.
Was there anything in The Shining that really resonated with you watching it?
Well, I've seen it many times, but when I was like 13, remember like just the red rum and how it was murder spelled backwards for a kid, to figure that out. It's like, oh.
And then we got that later with Troll 2 and Nilbog.
What about for you?
Probably the carpet. That sounds really weird.
Oh, I just bought a throw that has the shining carpet pattern, but I don't have it nearby on Amazon. I couldn't resist. It is.
Like, for some reason, I think the carpet is just as creepy as the long hallways. As far as I find the book more terrifying, though, is, you know, as you watch Jack descend into madness, because when watching Jack Nicholson in Kubrick's version, he's already on the edge. He's already pretty much.
Yep.
It's harder for me to read his his descent, because I do feel bad for him. But yeah.
My favorite thing about Kubrick's The Shining is its use of different sensory subliminals. So if you Danny on the big wheel.
Right.
Yeah, that's sound.
The sound is the important thing.
Yep.
You can hear the rotations of his tires, but you actually can't clearly see him work the mechanism.
Totally, yeah.
So, but if you watch, you're hearing more rotations during the short hallways than you do during the long hallways, which is impossible. But because that dissonance is there, your brain is really becoming uncomfortable. You know something's wrong, but you don't know what. And it's a brilliant subliminal that's hiding in plain sight. So now everyone in the chat is immediately going to go back to the film and start counting the sound of the rotations. But it's stuff like that that's throughout the film. I love the fact that the film is constantly screws with your geography. The manager's office can't exist. We see out a window right before they go into the office that there's no office where they're going, but yet they go there. It's all these optical illusions that you might not pick up on because you're following the conversation they're having while they're walking. But there's part of your brain that's going, this ain't right. This ain't right. And that's what Kubrick did really well. I think he made a haunted space a physical space. So that it was tangible to us, even if it was hitting us on a subliminal or even subconscious level. And I think only a master filmmaker can do that. The Maze is brilliant because it is a great physical embodiment of the psychological, which he realized he couldn't do the descent into madness. So he found his physical representation of that. And the manuscript pages never gets discussed. As they're flipping through them, the very last manuscript page before the cut, pause it on it and look at it. And I'm not going to tell you what's there, but do it.
Oh, all right. I'll have to rewatch. Yes. Fun.
Amazing film that doesn't get us ready. Do think it needed an editor. It's a little too long, but other than that, I love it.
Wasn't it like over 3 hours long? I haven't seen it in a while.
It feels like it, but it's not.
Oh, all right.
If anyone out there has any questions for Amy, let us know. We're about to the 1 hour point, so if you have anything you need to know from her, scream it out. In the meantime, what I will mention is there is some links in the description under this video that will lead you to Amy's Amazon page where you can buy her work in anthologies. And if there's any copies remaining, I guess, of Rage through Amazon, I guess you could pick those up. Please do, as we always say.
Well, that's on eBay, actually, Rage.
Is it?
I put a couple of copies up. I should have sent you the link, but I didn't. So, oh well.
Well, I can still add it. So send that to me after we're done here.
Okay. All right. I'll seek it out, definitely.
But everyone, I know we say it every time we have an artist of any stripe on the show, but I think it's so important that the genre is truly supported by its readers, its fans, its viewers. Whether we're talking about trying to fund an independent film, something we've done a couple times here, whether we're talking about writers, every purchase, every download of an ebook, it all matters. And every time you check it out, even if you just read the free first couple pages on Amazon and give it the shot, it makes a big difference to the people who are trying to give you new work. Because if you haven't noticed, we need new work, we need new ideas, we need new voices badly. So please, please, please support. Sam, did you have any final questions for Amy?
Not question. Well, actually,
with my brain, sure.
I did want to know, this is going to sound repetitive because I was just asking about The Shining, but I feel like Jaws is pretty much a perfect movie, and it's definitely in my top,
Mm-hmm.
probably in my top 5. I think it has to be.
Mm-hmm.
But what, like, how did you get bit by Jaws? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
wow.
Oh, you had to go there, but all right.
I regret nothing.
Right on. Well, that came out. I was too young to see it when it first came out, but I watched it on the VCR back in the day. Remember VCRs? I saw it like in the 80s. I guess I was maybe 10 or 12. And I was impressionable, so I was just fascinated by the shark, and I didn't know until much later it was not a real shark. I don't think it was a real shark, but now who knows what they were doing in the 70s, right? But yeah, just all the shots of the shark teeth and just the scenery, and then the blood in the water, the chum in the water, and
I like that scene where Roy Scheider's like,
yep,
that's
and
my
then
favorite reaction.
oh yeah, and then we're gonna need a bigger boat and all that, right?
Yeah, I always appreciate the pure joy. Like, you feel joy when like he goes, "Smile, you son of a," and it's just boom.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's like, yeah, but that's hard. Yeah, it's hard to convey on film, but I think he nails it right there.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
me too.
Well, Griffin is going to get our final question of the night, as Griffin
Cool.
tends to.
Actually, cool. We're right on this. Yeah, right on.
Okay.
I think he holds his fire to the end because he knows he wants to end out the shows. He asks, "What are Amy's top 5 horror novels?"
Let's see. Well, I mentioned Tender as the Flesh. Definitely that one resonated with me. He means that I've read, right? Not books that I've written. Is that right?
That was how I interpreted it. You can answer it however you'd like. I mean,
oh, okay. No,
it's all a democracy here.
Oh no, I'll go with what I've read, because the other way it's just too ego for me to say, of my stories, these are the ones I like. So, and then other books, I just finished Billy Summers by Stephen King. All the Feels again. It's one of his best books, I think. Trying to think. What else have I read recently? Gosh, I've had a long week. I'm sorry. I'm just.
We all have.
I know.
It's been a long week.
Yeah, but it's Friday. I'm trying to think of others, because I have read a lot of books during the pandemic. There's one that was about like. Oh yeah, no, I can't remember the title of that one, so I won't mention it. But excuse me. A lot of good. I'm trying to think of some other. I don't want to just mention Stephen King, because even though I have read a lot of his stuff during the pandemic. I already mentioned James Chambers' collection. I read that a while ago, but On the Night Border is very good. Raw Dog Screaming Press. I guess it doesn't have to be what I've just read. So let's see, who else have I read that I really liked? Oh, sorry.
Don't worry, this happens. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to get going then. If you want to send me a note with those, I'll make sure they get put in the description if we can add links to your favorite books there. Again, everyone, please support Amy. Every sale, every moment, every mention counts. Where can they follow you online?
I have a website, crimsonscreams.com. And I'm very active on Twitter. I'm just Amy_Grech at Twitter.
Awesome. Everyone out there, if you know anyone who would enjoy our content, please pass along the word. We're always looking to have new great people join the audience out there. We have a great community, but it can always be larger, better, more robust, and make our guests a little bit more money. Sam, you haven't sang so far today.
I know.
Will there be no? Will there be no?
Come on. Why not? It's Friday.
I don't know. What does the chat want me to sing?
Chat, what do you want her to sing?
Taking requests.
All right, have a good night.
Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff.
Either way.
So if you like
Nature.
Take a look.
Burned my skin, futzed around in the water, driftwood all over the beach, and